Hey guys, welcome back into the most recent edition of Bubblegum Sports Unfiltered. Everyone knows GM Jeff here. He says fire everyone. We'll get to that in a moment. Um,
Before
welcome
before
back.
we start,
Go
I
ahead.
don't know if I got to hit this first. I just breaking news right here live. The Packers just extended Lafleur's contract.
Is this for real?
This is for real. I just
Perfect.
saw NFL Network just reported that the Lafleur has been extended.
Could
So
could
before
we
do anything
could we
else,
have picked a better topic? We're not going to start with that because we don't have a full roster in here viewing yet. So we're going to save that probably for the second topic. But that was one of our big topics of the night. And I think we both kind of figured they probably would extend him from everything we heard. Now, should they have, was the question we asked. So, and I know last week you might have changed kind of what you thought before the game and after the game. And we'll talk about that momentarily. We're going to start off with something else. Big signings, a couple big signings in baseball. Kyle Tucker signed with the Dodgers for $65 million. So people are having like a panic attack over that for good reason. But the Chicago Cubs signed Alex Bregman. My question to you, now let's see if you're going to be honest about this. Does this make the Cubs contenders? And when I say contenders, does that put you in the conversation for having a shot to win it all? I guess is what I would say. Not the clear-cut favorite necessarily.
well, I think they always have a shot. It's the same as the Brewers. They always have a shot. Are they going to? I don't know. I mean, they're always going to be in the mix. The Cubs are. They're always going to be in that mix. It's just a matter of last year they got hit with some injuries like right off the bat, didn't they? And so
Well, they started off. I'll tell you what. Last off season, I had a wish list, right? I think we all do as fans. I had a wish list of what I wanted them to do for me to really say, man, this would be an ideal off season, right? I'll tell you the three things I wanted. I wanted the bullpen to improve. I would say they checked that off. Their bullpen was actually pretty decent last year. I wanted one more starter. They did not get that, and it ended up really costing them because Justin Steele, one of their top two pitchers, got hurt in the second half of the year, and that really, not having that extra starter, a quality starter, really killed them. And the third thing I wanted was Alex Bregman. This is last year I'm talking about, and they got a little cheap on him, and they missed by like $5-10 million a season. So they only checked one of those three boxes. Yes, I did kind of think they'd be around 90 wins-ish, high 80s, around 90. What I didn't expect was the Brewers way surpassed what I expected them to do last year. That's where I missed. I was pretty accurate on the Cubs, but I was off on the Brewers. I would say we kind of all were. I think we all figured the Brewers would be about 500. Now, fast forward to this offseason, I had the same three requests, and after you go through it enough years, you're like, well, if I get one or two, I guess, we'll have some hope. They actually checked all three boxes for me this year. They traded for Edward Cabrera from the Marlins, who has huge upside, throws in the high 90s. And they signed Alex Bregman to the 5 years, $175 million deal. And they shored up the bullpen even more than they did last year. So I know a lot of people are upset about the Dodgers, and for good reason. But I look at it a little bit different. Am I happy with what my favorite team has done? Yes, I am. I really don't think that much about the Dodgers, even though you hear so many people out there crying and complaining that their team has no chance. What I think, and we talked off the air about this, is those people are more upset with what their teams aren't doing than necessarily what the Dodgers are doing. What do you think about that aspect of it?
So my wish last year for the Brewers was to get some new lights on the scoreboard, have a summer of fun, and miss out on the World Series again. And they hit on all of those. They got those new lights on that beautiful scoreboard. The summer was fun, and they lost on the playoffs. So it was a great summer once again. Great year for the Brewers once again. We got to, as Brewer fans, we're realistic. You're never going to get that big signing. They're going to. They're always going to be in the mix. I don't know if this year they're going to be able to do that. I think their window is shut. They had the team last year. That was the year to do it. They played really well in the regular season against the Dodgers. They swept both series against the Dodgers. But once you get into that postseason where you're into a 7-game stretch, Brewers just couldn't compete. And that first game was a killer. And, to come so close coming back. And I think that just let the air out of them. It was a great series, though. I mean, that pitching the Dodgers had in that series against the Brewers was just crazy. So the Brewers, and I don't know what they're going to do, how they're going to get some bats this year. Their pitching is still pretty decent. You mentioned off the air that Peralta is probably going to go to the Dodgers.
There was I think 5 or 6 teams. The Yankees were in there, the Mets, all the big market teams that can act. Because the thing about it is, it's probably most likely going to have to be a team that's going to be able to afford to extend him. So that eliminates, a third of the league. The majority of small market teams are not going to make that trade, because in order to give the Brewers a piece that they deserve to get for a pitcher of his caliber, it's going to have to be a team that's not only going to be willing to take his salary this year, which is only $8 million. It's going to be the extension after this season that's going to be the bigger issue. So that eliminates quite a few teams.
Yeah, and like you said, you can hate on the Dodgers as much as you want. They're not breaking any rules. And if you've got the money and you can buy championships, buy a championship. They're vulnerable. They got beat last year, in multiple series, but it comes down to the playoffs. And as long as they get in, they can play like crap in a regular season, hover around playoff area. As long as they get in, that's when their roster and those superstars come into effect. But even then, a short series, the Blue Jays took them. That was 7 games in the World Series, if I'm not mistaken.
And that's 2 years in a row they were taken, I think, in the NLCS or the division round the year before. They were taken to the last game, too. And that's where I think people are overestimating how easy it is. A lot of things still had to go right for the Dodgers. I don't look at it as it's a foregone conclusion. Back, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was the Yankees. Now, the pay scale was different, but it was the same situation. The Yankees spent the most money, and quite a bit more. It was kind of when A-Rod was getting, shoved around the league a little bit. Baseball's been that way for a long time. It's just salaries have gotten bigger. And I think some small market fans are just getting sick of their teams really not, like you said, last year, the Brewers had so much go right for them. They way overachieved. There's no debating that. And they had guys like Andrew Vaughn playing at a level they've never touched in their career. And they had multiple guys doing that. Those are the years, like you said, those are the years you got to push it a little bit at the trade deadline. And they did absolutely nothing. That's an ownership issue. I'm not expecting them to go out and spend $40 million at the trade deadline, but could they have pushed it a little bit further? Absolutely. The owner is worth $1.7 billion. I think he was worth 500 million or 700 million when he bought the Brewers. He's making quite a bit of money, but he runs it like we talked about. He's running it like a business. His goal isn't to win a World Series. His goal is to make money, and if they win along the way, that's even better. Yeah. You know what I mean? The Dodgers are the opposite. Their goal is to win a World Series, and making a huge profit is secondary. They're going to make money. Don't get that twisted. But to make a ton of money, they'd rather win a World Series. So
obviously, the more successful you are, too, that counts. So the Dodgers can spend those billions of dollars, but they've got fans worldwide. I mean, that's just like the Yankees. You can go on. Obviously, I'm a soccer fan. So I was watching a game today, and there was Yankee hats in the stands of a game in Manchester. And the other game, there was a game in London, and you could see LA hats, and it's worldwide phenomenon. So if you are a championship team, you're going to sell more merchandise. You can spend, to buy championships, but that money's coming back.
100%.
One way or another, that money is going to come back. So, they got to look at it that way. But, that I think I will never get over that comment that Anastasio made last year about he's just there to bring, to have a summer of fun, basically.
And he did. If that was what his goal was, he accomplished it.
It was a great summer. All the games, I mean, it was, the first month of the season was just absolutely horrible. But then all of a sudden, I don't know, that switch flipped and Yelich got hot and everybody got hot, and it was just this unstoppable. But I
I
think
mean,
that was their window. That was everything was going so right for them. They got into the playoffs. They beat the Cubs in the first round. That was their World Series at that point because
I don't want to be the guy to bring up bad news, but ever since the Brewers brought Ryan Braun out as their special guest for that Game 5, they won a total of 0 games after that. Maybe stick to guys like Robin Yount that actually deserve to come out there in situations like that, not some of the biggest scumbags in the history of professional baseball. But that's just a thought. Maybe the media person from the Brewers that scheduled a flyover that night they had the stadium roof closed the year before was in charge of that whole shindig, but it definitely backfired. But I digress. Let's move on to the big topic. We got a couple more people in here. Say hello if you guys want to. Feel free to get involved here. We'll get these comments on the air. Jeff broke the news right as and this is why you can't miss an episode. We're going to break news before. You could wait hours to hear this on ESPN if they even do SportsCenter anymore. I'm not really sure what they do. But you heard it here the moment we hit the air. Jeff broke it live. We follow the bottom lines. We know what's going on. Matt Lafleur is getting signed to an extension. Now, that wasn't what we debated because I think Jeff and I both probably if we had to put money on it, we thought this was going to be the outcome. But that wasn't the question. My question to you guys was, should the Packers have extended LaFleur? I'll let Jeff start with this one. What do you think, Jeff? Now, and also, did your opinion change? Because before the game last week, you said you don't think there's any reason that you could see them moving on. Did your opinion change after the game, after you had some time to digest?
Yeah, 100%. So before the game, I was on, both Goody's and LaFleur's contract ends next year. And I'm one to say let them run their contract and then see, because it doesn't pay to fire a coach and then pay him to not coach. I just hate that. I hate seeing that. College football is absolutely horrible when it comes to that. Some teams are paying 5 coaches to do absolutely nothing. It's just
They're like the Bucks of college basketball.
Yeah, so I thought for sure that they were going to, not make a decision this year. They would let it go to next year, and depending on how they finish next year, then make that decision then. Or depending, through the playoffs, if they had a decent playoff run. I think everybody that was on the chat last week thought it was going to be a close game between the Packers and the Bears, and it ended up it was. But the trouble was,
for a moment, Jeff, I thought my prediction, and it was spot on up until like 5 minutes to go. I thought we had it nailed down to the screws, and then disaster struck.
Yeah, and after that game, when they blew that, they were 21-3 at one time, 21-6 going into the fourth quarter. And they blew that lead. And if that was a one-off, if that was the only time that's happened, you could say, oh wow, the Bears came back, that was rough. But this happens all the time. It happened, I don't know, 6 times this season where they've had lead going into the fourth quarter. Some of them going into the final 5 minutes, and they blew it. So this is a team that can't close. They can't do, and it's not just this year. Go back any year, they have these chances to put teams away, and they just don't. Even that year, it was Love's first year. They got in the playoffs. They go to Dallas. They built this giant lead, and then let the foot off the brakes. Cowboys scored 2 touchdowns, and now it's back to kind of a ball game. He started resting the players, and all this stuff started going on. And you're like, no, what are you doing? That's why you got to – for me, I don't care what sport it is. You have to have like a college football mentality. You go until a final whistle.
Yeah.
And if you rack up 70 points, I don't care. It's not my job to protect the other team's feelings. It's my job to win games. And if I can keep putting the pressure on and keep winning, that's what you got to do. But some of these coaches, we don't want to rub it in. No, screw that. And LaFleur is gutless. I'm going to say it. I always thought he was a decent coach, but he's gutless. He has no backbone, no spine. He gets into these games and he just wimps out. You get a lead, you're on your playoffs, you're in your rival stadium, you're up 18 points, and all of a sudden you can't do anything. And another big thing that I have a problem with LaFleur, all these games, you look at any game, pick a game, the opponent at halftime always makes adjustments, always comes out in that second
Usually,
half.
Usually.
The Packers, nothing. They're saying, wow, hey, we had such a great first half. We don't need to change anything. And when the other team comes out and is doing something completely different, they have no answer. They have no clue what they're doing. So I think Lafleur, after that game, when he pulled into the parking lot at Lambeau, his entire office should have been in his parking spot. It should have been waiting for him in a big pod just so he can pick it up and move to the next city, because it was just a disaster. It's a joke.
Now,
and I don't know the exact details. I'm going to look it up, how long he was extended, but my guess would be, probably another 7 years for some ungodly amount of jack.
Now, Kurt brings up something I want to touch on here in a second. I'm just going to put it on the screen momentarily, and I'll touch on it, Kurt, in a second. Kurt always brings the fire on his comments. He always is well thought out. Now, here's a stat to back up what Jeff is saying. Since 1970, since they started keeping these statistics, the Packers had lost while leading by 10 points with 5 minutes left one time in their team history. Going into this season, one time. And they had some crappy teams during that time.
Yeah.
You know how many times that happened to them just this season, Jeff?
I believe it was at least, I think there were 6-3 this year when those happened, or something like that.
Yep. So correct. So it happened 3 times this season alone.
Yeah.
So in 55 years, it happened once. And don't get me wrong. I'm not expecting perfection. Games like that happen maybe once in your career, twice if you, for it to happen 3 in a season, that reason alone is the reason I think he should get fired. Now, do I think he's a bad coach? No, I don't think he's a horrible coach. I just don't think he moves the needle enough. And I truly believe, guys, and let me go back like a step here. I don't take any pride or happiness in being right about all these things that you guys want to hold on to. I have no reason to lie to you. Jair Alexander, when I said get rid of him, he's nothing but trouble. And I got so many horrible comments. You guys just do not see things from the same perspective. I have no reason to see things from that perspective. I'm going to tell you straight up, I was right about Jair Alexander when I said, Aaron Rodgers, you're better off moving on from him the year before they did. We'll get to that in a second, but Dave was right about that. This is another thing. When I said J.J. McCarthy on draft night, when he wore a suit 3 times too big, he was the only quarterback at the draft that couldn't dress himself properly. And I said right then and there, we were live on TV, and I said, I'm out on J.J. McCarthy. How did that turn out? How did that turn out when I said Minnesota probably has the best team in the division except for the most important position of quarterback? That's another thing I was right about. So when I tell you that extending Matt Lafleur is going to keep you destined for a fringe 7 seed in the playoffs for the foreseeable future, you might want to listen to me because that's truly what I believe. I think that is a huge mistake by the Green Bay Packers. Now, like I said to start out, is he a bad coach? No, he's not. The thing about it is, and Kurt brought this up, and this is why I wanted to touch on it, he wants to see Lafleur give up play calling duties. I feel that's Lafleur's strength. The thing about it is he's a good offensive coordinator. I don't think he's a great head coach. I don't think he manages situations, and he is not tough enough on players. He'd be a great coordinator if he didn't have to make the day-to-day decisions as the game was going along. But his situational leadership and how hard he is on his players, that's the kind of coach you want when you have a bunch of veteran 32-year-old players all in their prime that have all done it before. They don't need someone to hold their hands. You guys need a tough-nosed coach. You got a bunch of 22, 23, 24-year-olds that don't exactly know what they're supposed to be doing. They're great athletes, but they need that leader, and Lafleur is just way too easy on them. And when I've called them soft in the past, everyone thought, oh, my God, we're not soft, blah, blah, blah. You do me a favor tomorrow. When you watch the Texans and the Patriots play, you watch those 2 teams in particular and watch how they play football, and then come back and we'll talk next week about are the Packers soft or not. That's a whole different world from what you guys see every week, and you don't know any better because you don't watch anything else.
So the speaking of the toughness, and that you go back and you look at what Holmgren did when he came to town. He was tough, and he would ream out Favre on the sidelines, and then there was
Yep.
the assistant coaches that would go up to him and to Favre, there's those and kind of calm him down and go and do all this and that. But you need someone that's going to light that fire, especially on these some of these kids. And yeah, Lafleur gets mad, but look at you can go back to any press conference over his first, he's 6 years, 7 years, whatever it is. And he says the same thing
over and
week.
over.
It's just all you do is press play, and it's we had some mistakes. We got to clean those up. I thought we played really well. Obviously, there's room for improvement. Every week, there's room for improvement. And every year they start the same. You look at the offense, every year they start the same. There's tons of penalties, pre-snap penalties, all sorts of garbage calls.
And to go along with that, Jeff,
like that.
He's developed a tendency, and this is, like I said, 1 or 2 times when it happens, it's not a trend, but he has developed a trend as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers the last few years. They always play down to their competition, and that is a bad sign. That is a bad sign as a head coach. And I didn't think about it that way until you brought it up. But like you said, when Holmgren was here, for example, he was not afraid to be tough. I saw, was it Travis Jervey, I believe. He grabbed him by the freaking jersey, right on the neckline of the jersey, and yelled at him. It was a preseason game. You think Matt Lafleur would ever? He'd go up there and say, "Do you want some tea? Can I get you some tea?"
It's just, and like you said, I think he's a good coach. I have to agree with Kurt though. If you're going to be the head coach, get yourself an offensive coordinator. Get Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins. Bring him up. I think everybody's so high on Hafley.
They're going to lose Hafley.
Well, yeah, and I personally could care less because everybody's saying how great that defense was. Right, Parsons got injured. Right. But you go from last year's defense, which was top 5 in a lot of categories, to this year's defense, and they're giving up points left and right. Yes, there was injuries. I don't even want to hear that crap because you have a week to make adjustments, and for the most part, they did for a lot of times. But still, you look how many points you let up in the fourth quarter in games. That's just garbage. It just can't happen like that.
And speaking of Hafley, I'm glad you brought his name up because he is being brought back for a second in-person interview with the Tennessee Titans, which would be a perfect place for him to go for his career to die. But yeah, like you said, I know you guys are talking about him giving up play calling duties, but I think the overseeing the whole picture, that's his weakness. I think that would make it even worse. His strength is calling plays. Now, playing it safe in the second half needs to change, but he's actually, what he did with Malik Willis cannot be understated. The plays that he called and the way he brought Malik Willis along, I think that goes back to Matt Lafleur. He did an excellent job with Malik Willis. I think, like you said, I think he just needs to be tougher, number one, and have a buffer. Your assistant coach should be the guy that's coddling these guys. When your head coach is the guy that's doing it, you have no chance. And that's what the Green Bay Packers, I don't know if you've gotten the years yet, but that's what the Green Bay Packers are signing themselves up for. I don't want to be that guy, but like I said, my track record with football predictions on this show is pretty high. You might want to start listening. You guys are signing yourselves up for a 7 seed for 3 to 4 years or however many years they're signing him to.
I think like what some of it, we want Lafleur to give up on the play calling. And I think the reason for that is the less he has to do with the actual team, the better. So if he can get a decent offensive coordinator, get a defensive coordinator, we need a new special teams. And it's so stupid. Special teams shouldn't really be that big of an issue, but you look at how many kicks were blocked, missed, all sorts of crap went crazy on special teams this year, and that should never happen.
League-wide, there was a blocked kick issue this year. I don't remember this being such an issue with so many teams, but you're right. In general, you don't want to hear about your special teams coach or anything throughout the year. Usually, if you hear about it, it's not good stuff. You know what I mean?
The special teams player of the year had to be the punter Whelan. I mean, he did phenomenal.
Yeah.
But you get these there, you know, after the game, everybody's down on the kicker. Yeah, there was a lot of blame to go around. The kicking game, the defense, the offense, they shouldn't have had to rely on those points. But one thing you brought up is Malik Willis. Yeah, he's done great. But I got to address, I know there's probably some in the chats or some of the crowds, I can't see the chats right now, that, they should bench Love and bring Willis
we have heard that throughout the year, yes.
And that drives me up a wall because they're saying, he should have never got that contract. Love should have never got that much money. Well, he did, because that's what it was going for at the time. But they're willing to dump that. They're willing to dump Love based off of 4 starts by Willis. Mm-hmm. Okay, you had 4 starts and he played really good and he came in some games. But they're thinking that he's just going to turn this team and just be – and who knows, he might. But we got to deal with the situation that you just paid Love $50 million.
And, in the playoff game, didn't Love throw like 4 touchdowns or something like that?
Yeah, so
come on, guys.
In that playoff game, he had 323 yards. He was 24 of 42, I believe, 323, 4 touchdowns, no picks, and they're blaming the game on Love. He put up 27 points, should have been 28, missed XP, and missed field goals. So the numbers were there. They should have won that game. There's no reason why they didn't. It was not on Love. But you read these Packer fans go, you're never going to win anything with Love. You're never going to do this with Love. You're never going to do that. Look at the play calling on some of those plays.
Yep.
Anytime you have short yardage, how about we run the same running play over and over and over and over and over every single time? And my other favorite one is it's 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, whatever. Hey, how about we pitch it back 2 yards deep and see if we can run around? That's my all-time favorite. And it never works. Ever. Never. For Christ's sake, you know what? If it was me, play action pass, go deep every time. 4th and 1, screw it. Play action pass, go deep.
Here's what I would like to see. When I go back and watch tape of when Love first started, if you watch, again, when you're watching the Patriots, watch the way they run their offense. They're under center a lot. They're play actioning a lot. They're using their run game consistently, not 1 or 2 times and it not working, and they quit. They won't quit. That's, I think, when the Packers offense was really hitting on all cylinders. They love to go out of the shotgun because Love, I guess, the metrics or whatever. I don't think that's best for their team is what I think. I think they'd be a lot better off going back to their old style when they were bringing Love along, and just their consistency, I think, would go up. I don't know how you feel about that, Jeff.
Yeah, there's too many times it's always out of the shotgun, and I know people have commented on that constantly, and I don't know. It doesn't. They got to get back. You look, like you said, Love's first season. Stuff was really working then, and I know they didn't go out of the shotgun constantly, and that's what they always do. Every play runs around the shotgun. And
and I have no problem. I have no problem with using a shotgun. I don't think your offense should be 100% shotgun, and that's pretty much what the Packers are for the most part. So when you get in a 3rd and short or 4th and short, because Lafleur will go for it, short for him is like 4th and 7. You're doing yourself a disservice. You're taking half the playbook out. They know you're not going to run it out of the shotgun.
So
all right,
it's 4th and 7, and you're going to do a screen 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's another good call for the offense. If you need a first down, I never understood why offenses always they throw it short and try to make the receiver do all the work. No, go beyond the damn line and get the ball. It's just he needs to really, really come up with a better offensive scheme.
All right, let's move on here. We got one more topic to go. We're gonna go longer than we expected, which is fine. We got some hot topics tonight. Kurt says what he always tells people is special teams can kill you, and he does say that a lot. So he's right about that, and they're proving it for sure. The Broncos only have a minute to go, and they're at the 25-yard line of Buffalo. They're down by 4 points, so the Broncos might pull this one out. We'll see. Okay, the last topic here, and again, Jeff, I take no pride in being right all the time about Aaron Rodgers. I really do not take pride in it. But, we saw a game against the Browns. I believe Rodgers scored 3 points in that game. And the Browns season's been over for 3 months. And now you have another big game, which, this is his MO for big games the last probably 5 years of his career. A game you have to have. And what did they score? 6 points this week?
6 points.
Did they score? So they didn't score a touchdown this week, did they? Or did they and they missed the extra point? I don't. Oh, the Broncos. The Broncos, I think, just scored a touchdown. I don't know. He's out of bounds. I don't know if they're going to call it a touchdown or not. Yep, touchdown. Broncos took the lead. Okay. This is why I said, and I know Ben's not going to show up because I told him this was going to happen. Refresh my memory. I'll refresh it myself. I'm pretty sure Ben said the Steelers are going to the Super Bowl and Aaron Rodgers is going to win MVP.
Yeah. So, and we all called him out on it. Everybody knew that was not going to happen.
Now,
everybody knew that was not going to happen.
This is why I said you do not move your complete offseason around for Aaron Rodgers, especially not in the last few years. The last good year he had was the year before his last year in Green Bay. How many years ago was that? 4 or 5?
5, 4, yeah, 4.
If you took the last name off his jersey, you wouldn't think he's even an average NFL quarterback at this point.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
Monday night game, the score was 30-6. He had a fumble and a pick 6. The pick 6 was the last pass he threw.
He threw more touchdowns to the other team than he did to the Steelers.
Right. So he threw a pick 6.
Ben, where are you? Ben, I have the comment section wide open. I have everybody else paused for you to have the floor. And I'm waiting for you to show up. We're already going overtime in hopes that you'll show up. But we all know that's not going to happen. You've been hiding ever since we took our little hiatus. The only person that's hid more has been Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I'm going to go and say, you know what? He had a decent season. It wasn't horrible, but the offense was nowhere near what, they got in on the last play of the game and the regular season by a missed kick. They got into the playoff. It was actually a really decent game. He had a pretty decent game that game, but
I will say now I'll call a spade a spade. The last 2 drives of that game, he did very, very well. I think you can count on one hand how many drives he had like that throughout the season, though, and I'm not being sarcastic. My other problem is Mike Tomlin. When you watch him, and I got him fired, and we'll get to that in a second. He treated him like he was a buddy. I never understood. I don't care what they've done in their career. You can't treat people like that are your quarterback. You have to have some accountability. You're not going to go pat him on the back all the time. They would always walk off the field together. It got him fired. Now, they said he stepped down, but we all know what that means. That means we're going to fire you because you've been here so long. We'll let you step down. 3 coaches in the last 2 seasons, Aaron Rodgers has gotten fired. He got Saleh fired, he got his replacement fired, and now he got Mike Tomlin fired. It takes a hell of a quarterback to get a guy that's been in one place 18, 19 years fired the very first season he shows up.
He's the coach killer.
He's the coach killer. He's gotten more coaches fired than playoff wins the last 5 years by a long shot. I saw in the last 5 years, and this is something I can't get out of my head, Blake Bortles. Do you even remember who Blake Bortles was? The quarterback of the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I think they said since 2018, they have the same amount of playoff wins. And I'm pretty sure Blake Bortles made the playoffs 1 year in his career. They each have 2 playoff wins. So why are teams still moving their offseason around for Aaron Rodgers? I hope for his sake he retires. I'll give you the last word on this topic because I know Ben is not going to show up and we got to go off the air at some point. What do you think will happen with Aaron Rodgers this offseason?
He's done. With Tomlin not coming back to the Steelers, there's not another team that's going to go out and try to get him. The only thing I could see anybody doing is if they wanted to bring him in as a veteran backup to work with a kid, but I don't think Aaron's that type of guy who's going to want to come in and work with a young guy. Yeah, you don't know. Maybe he is. I don't know.
Is he the only player that you can ever remember that's been married for an entire year and no one has ever met his wife? It's an honest question.
Yeah, I don't even know what her name is.
Maybe Manti Te'o? Was he even married, or was that I I don't know what that was.
I don't know.
I wish I was joking. I want somebody to find out, and I need a picture or a name or something. Next week, you guys come back here, and I want proof that this guy's actually married.
Yeah, I've never seen anything, so I don't know.
None of his teammates, none of his teammates' wives. You know, they have events all the time when you're starting a season. You would think that would be something you would bring your even girlfriend to. For sure, wife. You know, and he says, "Oh, he doesn't want to be. He's not going to be in the public eye." A guy that does a radio show weekly doesn't want to be in the public eye. Guys, if you've bought into his BS, God bless you.
One thing on Rodgers, I just want to say there is no doubt he was a great quarterback on the field in his prime. He kind of tarnished his legacy the last 3 years, and he probably should have just retired when he got his injury in New York, and it would have been there. But now, you know, he went to the playoffs this year, but I think if you go back through his entire career, there's no arguing about how great he was. He did a great job.
From a pure talent standpoint, he had unbelievable top-tier, elite, all-time talent. My problem with Aaron Rodgers has always been the other stuff. And, you know, even now he acts like he's owed something to come to these teams. You haven't done anything for 5 years, bro. Yeah. Carson Wentz has done more in the league the last 5 years than you have. He just doesn't have a Rodgers on the back of his jersey and wasn't a 4-time MVP. That's the only difference.
What we're going to see is I think he's going to retire, and then maybe 6 years down the road when the Colts need another quarterback, you might see him play for the Colts. So
I'm all for, and don't get it twisted here. I'm all for if he wanted to come back. I really truthfully don't care. This whole entitlement thing really pisses me off. And when people actually buy into it, it really pisses me off. Like I don't know if he'll ever show up again, but Ben has bought into that hook, line, and sinker. So we'll see. On the way out here, Jeff, anything else? Now, in the comments, if any of you guys are watching this on delay, don't be afraid to comment. We'll make sure we respond to those comments as well. And throughout the week, you can always come on this episode and type in there anything you want us to talk about the following week. Now, on the way out, Jeff, so the Bills are driving. There's 30 seconds left. They're down by 3. Oh, they did a hook and ladder. They're down to the 40, the 35, the 32. Well, we're going to stay on the air until the end of this game. There's 23 seconds left. The Bills have 1 timeout left, and they are already in field goal range. Might we see an overtime game? Now, Jeff is 12 minutes behind me because he's watching on an illegal stream, allegedly.
I'm watching on Paramount Plus.
I'm kidding. He's not. I hope Spectrum don't cut his internet, please. I'm just kidding. He's not. On the way out here, we'll watch the end of this game. But do you have any other thoughts? I think you wanted to touch on maybe college football Monday.
Yeah, the championship Monday, Miami and Indiana. Now, it should be Indiana. It should be a cakewalk. They shouldn't have any problem. They should just it should be over in the first quarter. But seeing what Miami did, they're the last team to get in. They did enough to piss Notre Dame off. Like,
yeah.
That Notre Dame pulled out of a bowl game.
Yeah.
So they pulled out of the bowl game. They were so mad that Miami got in. So I got to give Miami props for nothing else than just pissing Notre Dame off, which was pretty funny. But it's going to be interesting. I think right now that Indiana's an 8.5-point favorite, which is probably pretty accurate. They've had destroyed teams. I kind of thought they were just a decent team, but when they went into the Big Ten championship game and literally just blew out Ohio State, and then they go out and do the same to Alabama, that was just incredible. So it should be a good game on Monday. And the one last thing I have to toss out: Manchester United beat Manchester City today 2-0. Brand new coach again. So it was a great morning so far. Now that we got a comment here on the way out. What's the last comment there on the screen there, Jeff? Whereabouts of Benny? Yeah. If anybody knows the whereabouts of Benny, he's been missing. Yeah, since A-Rod. Yeah, I don't know. We need to put out an APB on him. everybody be on the lookout because we're worried. We don't know what happened.
So if you guys see him, it'll probably turn up when the Brewers, sign their next big free agent. Maybe that's what he's waiting for.
So we're never going to see Benny again.
The return of Benny B. Who knows if that's ever going to happen? On that note, we're going to head out for the night. Is there anything else, Jeff, you want to mention before we call it a night?
Nope. Just have yourselves a great week. We'll see if the Bears can keep on rolling. See what happens tomorrow night. Should be interesting.
Kurt,
I got them to win tomorrow.
You have them winning?
I have them beating the Rams tomorrow. I do have them losing in the championship game. So we'll see what happens.
We have a comment. Now, I was hoping Rob would stop by and give us a little insight into the game. But maybe if the Bears win, we'll get lucky, and maybe him and Ben will both come back on the same night.
I just got to throw this out there. This is the 40th anniversary of the Bears' 1985 team. So if they get to the Super Bowl, they can finally shut up about 1985 and have something recent.
Now,
and it could be a rematch of that Super
I was just going to say.
You got the Patriots and the Bears 40 years later, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think they're going to make it that far.
We'll see. But you think they're going to win this week, just lose next week?
Yeah.
And we'll give Kurt the last comment of the night. He's always bringing his A game. He says, Ben, the next Jimmy Hoffa. On that note, see you guys later. Have a good week. We'll see you next Saturday night, 6 o'clock.
Take care.